Carlo Ancelotti has managed some of the greatest forwards football has ever seen. He has won 5 Champions League titles.
You're a record holder. This is your 5th. Fantastic.
I am a record man.
He has trusted Ronaldo, Ibrahimovic, Benzema, Mbappe and Vinicius Jr. on the biggest stages in the sport. But there is one 19-year-old striker he cannot seem to answer a simple question about.
And I want to ask you this. Does Carlo Ancelotti have a personal issue with Endrick? Because he should have played today.
Think about what we are actually looking at here. A player who arrived at Real Madrid in a deal worth up to 60 million euros and was compared to Ronaldo Nazario before he had played a single minute in Spain. A player who became Real Madrid's youngest ever European Cup goalscorer at just 18 years and 58 days.
To his right, Mbappe to his left. Had to go himself! That'll do it!
A player who scored 7 goals in only 847 minutes during his debut season, averaging a goal every 121 minutes despite starting just 8 matches. Then he left for Lyon. 5 goals, 7 assists, a hat-trick against Metz. Immediate impact. Then he scored Brazil's winning goal against Egypt in their final World Cup warm-up. Then came the World Cup. Brazil needed a goal against Morocco. The striker Carlo Ancelotti trusted missed a 0.52 XG header from inside the 6-yard box, managed just 16 touches and struggled to influence the game. Endrick never left the bench. Same player, same manager, same questions.
I think all Brazilian fans will be looking at this game and looking at Don Carlo thinking, what the hell were you thinking? Why didn't Endrick play this match?
So what exactly is Carlo Ancelotti seeing that everyone else isn't? Because this story is bigger than one teenager, one match, or one selection decision. It's about trust, tactics, development, and whether Brazil are leaving one of the most dangerous young forwards in world football sitting on the bench. This is why the Endrick mystery could define Brazil's entire World Cup.
You see, when we talk about Endrick, we will all agree he did not arrive at Real Madrid like a normal teenager. He did not arrive at Real Madrid like a typical teenager sneaking through the back door hoping someone notices him. He arrived with the entire weight of Brazilian football sitting on his shoulders, and people were already comparing him to Ronaldo Nazario before he'd played a single minute in Spain. That comparison was never fair, by the way, but the fact that it was even being made tells you everything about the size of the expectation. This was not a prospect being filed away for later. This was the next great Brazilian number 9, the player who would solve a problem the Seleção had been carrying for years. Then he lands in Madrid in the summer of 2024, and the situation becomes immediately painfully obvious. Real Madrid had just signed Kylian Mbappe. Vinicius Jr. was untouchable. Rodrigo, one of the most intelligent forwards in Europe. Bellingham, after that supernatural first season, had grown beyond a midfielder into an attacking weapon trusted in the biggest moments. Ancelotti was already rotating 5 elite forwards who all believed they should be starting. So Endrick did not walk into space, he walked into traffic. And here is where the story needs some honesty. He was not being blocked by average players or pure politics. He was trying to earn minutes in one of the most loaded attacks in football history. That context matters, but so does what happened when he actually played. August 25th, 2024, Real Valladolid, Endrick comes off the bench and scores on his La Liga debut. Not a tap-in, not a scramble, a sharp, confident finish from a teenager who looked like he belonged there before anyone had given him permission to think so. Then the Champions League against Stuttgart, Madrid protecting a narrow lead late. Endrick carries the ball forward, ignores the safe option and smashes a low shot from distance to seal a 3-1 win. At 18 years and 58 days, he became Real Madrid's youngest ever scorer in the European Cup. That goal told you almost everything about him: the confidence, the risk, the instinct, the refusal to play like a boy asking for approval. But it also explained Ancelotti's hesitation.
Endrick is not a passive striker. He does not recycle possession and wait politely for the perfect moment. He wants to shoot early, attack the game, turn half chances into highlights. Thrilling when it works, but in a Madrid side already trying to balance Mbappe, Vinicius, Rodrigo and Bellingham, that unpredictability is not always what the manager wants from his fifth choice forward. So the contradiction just kept growing. He was scoring, but his role wasn't expanding. In La Liga, his minutes came in fragments. In the Champions League, moments, not responsibility. In the Copa del Rey, he finally got to breathe. Celta Vigo, he came off the bench and scored twice in extra time. Leganés, goal. Real Sociedad, a decisive strike in the Copa semi-final first leg. The production was real. 37 appearances across all competitions, 8 starts, 847 minutes, 7 goals. That is 1 goal every 121 minutes. For an 18-year-old in his first year in European football, that is not failure, that is efficiency. The rhythm, though, never came. And a striker can score in short bursts, but development needs repetition. You build timing by playing regularly with the same people, learning when Vinicius wants the ball early, when Bellingham arrives late, when Mbappe cuts inside. Endrick rarely got that. Most of his minutes arrived as fragments, 10 here, 15 there, a cup start, then another wait. Every touch starts feeling like an audition, every shot carries twice the pressure it should. When Ancelotti was asked about it, his answer was always the same. Endrick is young, he needs to learn, he needs to adapt. At one press conference, he even suggested that throwing the boy into difficult situations could harm rather than help. From Ancelotti's seat, that was protection. From the outside, it looked like hesitation. To be fair, Madrid's attack that season was not built around a traditional centre-forward. Mbappe needed central space, Vinicius owned the left, Bellingham attacked the box from midfield, Rodrigo connected the lines with subtle movement. Endrick, a penalty box striker who wants direct balls and quick combinations, did not slot neatly into any of those lanes. The structure was already full before he arrived. But that raises the bigger question. If Madrid signed him as their future number 9, why was there so little room to actually develop him as one? Because whenever he played, the evidence was right there. Power, finishing instinct, courage, that rare ability to enter a cold game and still immediately create danger. What he never had was continuity, and for a teenager, continuity is not a bonus, it's the whole foundation. That's why the Lyon loan mattered so much. Away from the superstar traffic of the Bernabeu, Endrick finally got what Madrid could not give him, regular football. The response was immediate. 5 goals, 7 assists, a hat-trick against Metz that reminded everyone exactly why Madrid paid 60 million euros for an 18-year-old. That spell did not prove he was ready to start every elite game for Real Madrid, but it proved almost as important. The talent was never the issue. The issue was trust. The issue was timing. The issue was whether Ancelotti saw a player ready to be used or a teenager still too raw to be fully released. And that question refuses to go away. Because when a player scores 1 goal every 121 minutes, produces decisive cup moments, makes Champions League history at 18, and then immediately improves the moment he gets consistent game time, only one question remains. If Endrick was producing without rhythm, what could he have become with it?
The strange thing about Endrick's Brazil story is that it was supposed to feel different. At Real Madrid, you could at least understand the excuse. The squad was suffocating. Mbappe had just arrived, Vinicius was untouchable, Rodrigo had years of built-up trust, Bellingham had become a goal threat from midfield. So when Endrick spent most of that first season waiting, there was a football argument behind it. A crowded one, but still an argument. Brazil was supposed to be the reset, a national team that had been searching for a reliable number 9 for years, a manager who already knew Endrick better than almost anyone in European football, a fresh shirt and a clean slate. Instead, the same question followed him across the Atlantic. Why is he still waiting?
Before the World Cup, Endrick gave Ancelotti exactly the kind of reminder a young striker needs to give. Brazil faced Egypt in Cleveland, final warm-up, game still alive in the second half, and Endrick came on and within minutes did exactly what penalty box forwards are born to do. He smelled the loose ball, reacted inside the area, and scored Brazil's winner in the 51st minute. Not a complicated goal, but that was the point. His value is not always in long spells of possession or delicate link-up play. Sometimes it is simply that he smells danger before the defenders do. In tournament football, where one chance can decide an entire group stage, that instinct is everything. So when Brazil opened against Morocco at MetLife Stadium, the debate was already in the air. Would Ancelotti trust the teenager who had just scored? He did not. He started Igor Thiago. And look, on paper, that decision is not crazy. Thiago had just had a serious Premier League season for Brentford, 22 league goals, finished second in the Golden Boot race behind only Haaland. Older, stronger, more physically developed, and more naturally suited to the kind of centre-forward Ancelotti has always preferred. Ancelotti was not picking a random striker over Endrick, he was picking a profile. Thiago gives you size, a target, back-to-goal ability, aerial presence. For a manager who has said straight up that the World Cup is won by whoever concedes the least, not whoever scores the most, that profile makes sense. This Brazil is not built on fantasy football, it's built on control. But football does not always respect the plan. Against Morocco, Brazil looked uncomfortable from the jump. Morocco was sharper, braver, more aggressive in the wide areas. The opening goal came in the 21st minute, and it did not feel like a surprise. Brazil had never looked settled. Vinicius pulled them level with a brilliant equaliser in the 32nd, but the performance around him stayed uneven. Talent on the pitch, not enough fluency. And Thiago, he wasn't giving Brazil what his selection promised. Limited touches, low influence. The biggest moment came early, a headed chance inside the box, the exact type of chance you start a number 9 to take. He did not take it, not even close. After that, he never imposed himself on Morocco's centre-backs, never looked like a forward in control of his duel. Ancelotti made changes. Cunha and Luis Enrique came on, the structure improved slightly, but Endrick stayed on the bench. Not 10 minutes, not 15, the full 90. And that's where this went beyond a team selection debate, because the real question was never, why didn't Endrick start? Thiago's selection had logic, the form, the physical profile, the experience edge. The real question is sharper than that. Why didn't Endrick come on when Brazil needed a spark? He had just scored against Egypt. He had already proven at Real Madrid that he could enter a cold game and still create danger. Lyon had shown that regular football made him sharper, more involved, more dangerous. He had the one thing Brazil lacked against Morocco, unpredictability through the middle. Endrick is not the same striker as Igor Thiago. He won't dominate every aerial duel. He's still developing his link-up play. He can be impatient. He shoots when the safer pass is on. He drifts into spaces that can break shape, but that's also why defenders hate facing him. He's explosive. He attacks runners before they're obvious. He gives centre-backs a completely different problem because he doesn't play at one rhythm, and when a match goes flat, which this one did, that kind of forward changes the temperature of the game. Ancelotti's defenders will say he's right to be careful. World Cups are not development academies. Brazil can't afford to turn every match into an open, end-to-end scramble. Against a Morocco side with athletic runners and dangerous transitions, releasing Endrick into the game risked stretching Brazil further. That argument has merit, but so does the other side. If you bring Endrick to a World Cup, if he scores in the final warm-up, if your starting striker is struggling, and if the game is crying out for fresh energy, at some point trust has to mean something, because this is now the same story twice. At Real Madrid, he produced and waited. At Brazil, he produced and waited again. The shirt changed, the competition changed, the continent changed. The question didn't. Ancelotti can say he doesn't comment on individual players. He can say he's here to talk about the team. And in fairness, Brazil's problems against Morocco were bigger than one striker. The midfield lacked sharpness, the right side was exposed, the whole team looked nervous in its first World Cup game under a new manager. But sometimes one player becomes the symbol
symbol of a bigger issue. Endrick has become that symbol.
Not because he must start every game, not because he is automatically Brazil's best striker right now, but because every piece of evidence keeps pointing back to the same uncomfortable place. If he keeps making an impact when he plays, why does Ancelotti keep hesitating when the game is asking for him? After Egypt, after Lyon, after Madrid, after Morocco, this debate is no longer about talent. It is about trust. And if Brazil continue to look blunt through the middle, that question is only going to get louder.
Brazil already dropped points in Game 1. The 1-1 against Morocco was not a catastrophe, but it was a warning, and tournament football does not give you months to figure things out. You get days. Haiti next, then Scotland. On paper, these are the matches where Brazil take control of Group C. But after that Morocco performance, the bigger ones arrive and the margins get brutal. What Brazil lacked was a striker who changes how defenders think. That, Endrick. He attacks the ball early, presses with aggression, and runs at defenders before they're set. He plays like someone who expects the ball in dangerous areas, not one who hopes for it. That shifts the game for everyone around him. Vinicius no longer has to force every final action. Endrick's central runs create the hesitation that lets Vinny play earlier, simpler. Rafinha's cutbacks finally have someone attacking them with intent. Paqueta's vision is wasted on a static striker. Endrick gives him a moving target. And Bruno Guimaraes, one of Brazil's best vertical passers, gets exactly what he needs. A forward whose directness stretches defensive lines and opens the lanes Bruno lives to find. Put simply, Endrick makes every other Brazilian player more dangerous just by being on the pitch. And in a World Cup, the difference between a good Brazil and a dangerous Brazil is sometimes not another tactical adjustment or another safe substitution. Sometimes it is simply trusting the player who makes defenders uncomfortable. Ancelotti needs to stop treating Endrick like a teenager waiting for the perfect moment and start treating him like what he already looks like when he actually plays. A striker ready to hurt teams right now.